Welcome to the Black Mirror Review.
Black Mirror is a Netflix original show, with each episode ranging from 40 to 76 minutes. They all have seemingly separate plots in different worlds. So far, there are 4 seasons. The first has 3 episodes, the second 4, the third 6, and the fourth also has 6 episodes, making 19 episodes in the entire series.
This video has no spoilers and just discusses the general plots and opinions. Without further ado, here's every Black Mirror episode rated and summarized in order. The National Anthem.
The protagonist of this episode, Prime Minister Michael Callum, is forced to make a decision between his pride and the life of a girl, Princess Susanna. A video is shown to him that says Susanna will be killed if he doesn't embarrass himself on live television. It's an interesting political commentary that reflects on how society would really have acted in this case, but still pretty difficult to watch.
I rated it 2.5 stars.
And I rated it 1.5 stars.
15 million merits. This episode takes place in a dystopian world where normal people are forced to cycle on exercise bikes to earn currency called merits. The main character, Bang, meets the potential love of his life, Abby. Bang convinces Abby to participate in a darker parody of American Idol. The story follows these 2 characters on their journey of unfulfillment and rebellion. Will they be able to cheat the system, or will it prevail? I rate it 4.5 stars.
I also rated it 4.5 stars.
The entire history of you.
This episode takes place in a world where every person has a grain implanted in their head that allows them to record what they see and hear around them and play it back later for themselves or other people. This perfectly accurate system that shows access to all of their memories is shown to have its downsides through the story of Liam and his wife Fee, whom he suspects of cheating.
I rated it 4 stars.
I also rated it 4 stars.
Be right back. This episode explores the concept of grief. The main character, Martha, loses her boyfriend Ash in a car crash. She discovers a program that can imitate Ash through artificial intelligence, which collects and automates his behavior based off of his social media. Anyone who has ever mourned the loss of a loved one can relate to Martha. Featuring the classic snowballing effect and the fact that humans are always dissatisfied, this episode is depressingly enjoyable. I rated it 4 stars.
I rated it 3.5 stars.
White Bear.
A woman wakes up in a house with no memory of how she got there. She goes outside to find that she and a few others that she meets along the way are being hunted by people in masks with guns. She's also followed by crowds of people silently filming her on their phones, who ignore her pleas for help. The ending to this one will leave you shocked, in classic Black Mirror fashion.
I rated this 4 stars.
I also rated it 4 stars.
The Waldo Moment. This episode is especially relevant after the recent presidential elections, as it takes on the topic of infamous politicians. Main character Jamie voices a cartoon that gains momentum and is eventually ushered into parliamentary elections. Jamie learns a lesson or 2 about politics and the crooked system behind it. Will Jamie conform or risk a revolt? I rated it 3.5 stars.
I rated it 3 stars.
White Christmas.
A personal favorite episode. White Christmas is composed of 3 chilling storylines that all occur at Christmas time and explore different seemingly innocent technologies. These stories, told by 2 men named Matt and Joe, end up converging in a way that will leave you shaken.
I rated this 5 stars.
I also rated it 5 stars, and this is actually the only one that we both rated 5 stars, so I guess we especially recommend it.
Nosedive. One of the most relatable episodes where social media is at the center of attention. Lacey, the main character, lives in a world where every social interaction can be rated on a scale of 5 stars. These ratings determine socioeconomic status, and Lacey needs a boost in order to get her dream house. Well, she's in luck as a prime opportunity comes along. Hopefully she doesn't take a nosedive. I rated this 5 stars.
I rated this 4.5 stars.
Playtest.
In this episode, an American man named Cooper leaves his home to travel the world. Finding he needs money to return home, he decides to participate in testing a new virtual reality game. As he enters the game, however, he realizes that all is not quite as it seemed. Another episode full of terrifying twists which contribute to its clear horror genre. Playtest will leave you nervous about the future of virtual reality gaming.
I rated this 3 stars.
I rated it 4 stars.
Shut Up and Dance. one of the darker Black Mirror episodes which touches upon a few critical topics. Main character Kenny is caught by an internet hacker doing less than honorable activities. He is then blackmailed and forced to do other unsavory things. Can Kenny escape the grasp of his blackmailer, or will his life fall apart? I rated this 3 stars.
I rated it 2 stars.
San Junipero.
A love story with an 80s aesthetic. This episode has one of the happiest endings of any Black Mirror episode. It follows Kelly and Yorkie, 2 women who have come to the town of San Junipero for their own reasons. But this town is not what it seems. This episode won an Emmy for Outstanding Television Movie.
I rated it 4.5 stars.
And I rated it 5 stars.
Men Against Fire, one of the most profound episodes that covers the military and technological advances. Stripe, a soldier, has a neuro implant that enhances his senses. He then goes on a mission to eliminate roaches, which are supposedly mutated forms of humans long past salvation. The plot takes place in a dystopic and post-apocalyptic world. Is everything as it seems? I rated it 4 stars.
And I rated it 3 stars.
Hated in the Nation.
In this episode, Detective Karen Park and her new assistant, Blue, set out to investigate a series of murders. What starts out as one death quickly escalates, the use of technology in the wrong hands leading to a frightening conclusion. This episode includes revenge, robot bees, and Twitter, and deals with themes of internet harassment and online hate.
I rated it 4 stars.
And I rated it 5 stars.
USS Callister. This clear ode to Star Trek follows the life of introverted Robert Daly, a gifted programmer. The cliché, more outgoing, charming business partner of Daly takes credit for their virtual reality game. Daly then puts his genius to less than noble behavior and seeks refuge in his intellect. Arguably one of the best episodes of the new season. The question is, will Daly find fulfillment in his life? I rated it 4 stars.
I also rated it 4 stars.
Archangel.
This episode deals with helicopter parenting gone wrong, as it follows the lives of protective single mom Marie and her daughter Sarah throughout many stages in their lives. Marie implants into Sarah a system that lets her see and hear everything her daughter does, check her vitals, and track her location. And even after this technology is banned, the ramifications of this action are felt for both of them years later.
I rated it 3.5 stars.
And I also rated it 3.5.
Crocodile. Filmed in Iceland, this episode follows the story of Mia in her attempt to cover up a hit and run. The plot fast forwards to when she and her literal partner in crime, Rob, meet up again. She continues in her attempt to seem innocent. This episode contains just the right amount of suspense, but just a little bit too much gore. Will Mia successfully cover up her crime? I rated it 3 stars.
I rated it 3.5 stars.
Hang the DJ. Main characters Amy and Frank are in this walled-off system to find their soulmates. They are first paired up with each other, but only for 12 limited hours determined by Coach, a software that ultimately determines their ultimate compatible other after several matches. Clearly representing Siri and Tinder-like features, will Amy and Frank forget about their intense but brief connection and move on to their compatible others, or will they rebel? Not to be biased, but personally my favorite episode of the new season. I rated it 4.5 stars.
And I also rated it 4.5 stars.
Metalhead.
Black Mirror's first fully black and white episode follows protagonist Bella as she tries to escape a robot dog in the near wilderness. Her pursuer, much like the robot dogs of Boston Dynamics today. This monochrome episode with minimal dialogue still manages to be terrifying, although, in my opinion, not even the classic twist at the end really salvages it.
I rated it 2.5 stars.
I rated it 2 stars.
Black Museum.
With a plot composed of 3 converging storylines, much like Season 2's White Christmas, this episode follows protagonist Letitia as she's led through a museum of crime by the owner, Rollo Haynes. She learns the dark stories behind many of the artifacts and comes face to face with the chilling main exhibit.
I rated it 4 stars.
And I rated it 4.5 stars. Again,
thanks for watching!